What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is season 5, episode 10. The episode is titled True Colors. Let's jump right in because we already know we were anticipating who was going to go home, Cornelius or Naim. Welp, it is Cornelius. A lot of people have been wanting for Cornelius to go home. He is finally out the door. Oh, and he's taking the Wicked Witch of the West or East, wherever it's from, taking the Wicked Witch right with him because Camille has self-eliminated. I know plenty of you guys are jumping for joy that we don't have to deal with Camille and her antics anymore. He even said in his confessional, though, that he's going to see how far him and Camille can, build a relationship. We'll see at the reunion, you guys, where Camille and Cornelius are. So, on the other hand, we have Naim. He finds out that he is staying. The group decided that he is still ready for love. And what was interesting to me was that he was like, yeah, I'm just going to take in all the information that Zadia is giving me. And I'm just like, well, are you going to start talking to these other women that you're not interested in? Like, I feel like we are so far in the process at this point. Why would Naim go try to introduce himself to these ladies and try to get something started? We're already too late in the game. Choose Zadia. That's your person. But let's move on. All right, you guys, let's jump onto the kitchen, though, because we have Shiloh and Phil. Now, she decides, let's go ahead and play this little card game. It is basically about, love languages and asking each other questions, because she wants to get more information out of Phil. I'm like, girl, good luck, because do we know anything about Phil, you guys? Do we really know anything about Phil? Hell, we don't really know anything about Shiloh, now that I think about it. But, she's basically asking him, what can we do better for our communication? And just all types of, questions that I feel like she definitely needed to know the answers to. So this was a good game for them. However, I still think that Phil is BSing her. I think that Phil is full of crap. Phil is trying to play the field because Shiloh literally sat there and said, I'm choosing you. I want to move forward with you. And what does he do? He leans over and kisses her. Not saying I choose you back, not saying I'm flattered, nothing. He just basically gives her a kiss. Now she's like, okay, well, I don't know how to really take that. Is he going to move forward and claiming me publicly? Or was he basically doing that to keep her quiet and not expect for him to say, oh, I choose you as well, Shiloh? I personally think he did that so that can go ahead and shut her up, make her think that, he's confirming that he's going to move forward with her. But that is not where Phil's head is, because let's be honest, he still has Sydney in his back pocket, and I guess he sort of kind of has Aisha in his back pocket. So we'll see what happens with Phil and all his shenanigans. But honestly, I feel like Phil could have been one of the people that was on the chopping block. All right, so let's jump on over to Dante and Aisha. He set up a little date for her, you guys. What was the date? For them to sit outside on a bench. I'm sorry, but it's just so funny to me that on this show, the guys really do not have to put up any type of effort. The guys have skated by doing the bare minimum this season. But let's just go ahead and jump into their conversation. So basically, he's just checking in on her to see where her head is, see how she's feeling, because as we know, there was the whole blow up with Zadia, but she's like, you know what, I'm good, especially after that massage that you gave me. In her confessional, she's basically saying how she really likes Dante. She really likes the way that he checks on her. And I'm like, okay, I can see that this is clearly going in a good direction with Dante and Aisha. Now, in the middle of this conversation, she talks about how, the sun recharged her and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah, I saw you because I was out here meditating and I happened to see you. And we come to learn that she was out here doing some type of topless yoga or some sunbathing. I don't know what she was doing, but okay, Aisha, do what you do, girl. Like, I guess for me, I just would probably never want to be topless in a house setting like this because you never know who's going to see you. Not only just a guy that you might be interested in, but some other guy may have saw you. I just wouldn't want to play those type of games. So by the end of the conversation between Dante and Aisha, basically he lets her know that, he likes what he has going with her and he wants to see where this can go. AKA, girl, I am choosing you. I'm kicking Zadia to the curb. Because even in his confessional, he's like, me and Zadia, we have some unfinished business. But you can tell that he is done with Zadia. He is fully going to move on with Aisha. All right, so let's jump on over to Frank and Mumin. We find out that the resort trip is over. I'm sorry, but I am so confused by how we only got to see one day of that whole little retreat, and then we didn't get to see the second day. Like, I gotta feel like we were played, but I digress. So like I said, this is Frank and Mumin. They're walking around DC, and in her confessional, Mumin says that she's going to basically focus all her attention on Frank moving forward because things fizzled out with Walter. And I'm like, girl, you set yourself up for failure when it came to Walter because you ran your behind over there thinking that he was going to show you all this attention while he was trying to spend time with Sabrina. Like, you already knew that he was interested in two different women. Why are you acting like you didn't know that? And when it came to her having that conversation with Walter, she was definitely tripping last week, talking about somebody put something on him and how he didn't trust her anymore. She was honestly all over the place. But like I've said, Mumin has been grasping at straws this entire season because she's always been number two for everybody. But let's jump into this conversation between her and Frank. So basically, Frank was out here stealing, y'all. Frank is out here being a thief. He stole one of the balls from the mini golf and he wrote on there, I think, Mumin and the day that they went out to mini golf. And she's so smitten by this. She's like, oh my gosh, this is so sweet. None of the guys have, done anything like this for her. And I'm just like, Mumin, you really are impressed by the smallest things. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. I would not have been that impressed because he stole a little golf ball and put my name on it. I'm sorry. He gonna have to come harder than that. So basically, Mumin tells him, listen, this is where I want to park. This is where I want to try to see where things go. Basically saying, you know what, Frank? I'm choosing to move forward with you. Okay, that's cute and all, but he's like, no. I'm not going to say that I'm only going to be moving forward with you because as we know, he still has Sydney that he is still interested in. And to be honest, when I think about this journey and who has been interested in who and all that stuff, I could probably see Frank better with Sydney than with Mumin. Partially because of where they stand on their values and their faith and all that and how she's supposed to be celibate, but also just in lifestyle. It seems like Sydney is more of the type of woman that Frank needs because she's already in the nightlife. She knows how he's going to be out and about at night, not worrying about him not coming home because she going to be out and about as well. Unlike Mumin, who I feel like is more so calm and stay at home. I don't know. I just feel like the vibe is a bit off when it comes to her and Frank. But let's go ahead and move on. All right, let's jump right into this Dante and Zadia situation. You guys, I thought that we were going to get this at the end of the episode because, as we know, all the conflicts usually happen at the end. But no, we are like barely midway. So Dante invites Zadia out just to see where her head is, because this is after the retreat. Let's see where she's, where her head is. So she comes out, she's like, well, I'm kind of surprised because basically he ghosted me for 3 days. Oh, and now he wants to see me. I said, well, I do feel like he did ghost her because we all saw all of his interest this whole weekend was on Aisha. He was not paying Zadia no dust. That's why I kind of wish that we could have saw that second day to see if there was any interaction between Dante and Zadia. But clearly there wasn't. So she sits down or whatever, and he's asking her like, oh, where are you at in this process? Like, where's your head at? And basically, she feels like she was blindsided going into that deliberation because she did not know anything about him and Aisha's connection. And this is what I have been saying time and time again about this season of Ready to Love. On all of the other seasons, when people are interested in multiple people, they have talked about both of them in the deliberations. Whether it had been what was that girl, Adriana? She would talk about Kalfani as well as Rashid. Or even if it was one of the couples from last season, like, people would always mention multiple people that they were into. This season, though, I feel like so many people kept things in the dark that nobody really knew who was talking to anybody. For example, I don't think that Frank really knows that Sydney is feeling feel like this. Like, I don't think that Shiloh really knows how much, she didn't know how much Phil was getting around until that one deliberation where she found out that he went and met up with Aisha's friends as well as Tassia's friends. This situation is no different. Yeah, Zadia, technically you did walk in there blindsided because Aisha kind of threw it up in your face like, oh yeah, I got rubbed down by Dante. We've been connecting, all this stuff. And it came out of nowhere because they don't talk, I feel like, how the other contestants before have talked about their connections. That is one thing that I have definitely noticed about this season. So Dante, he feels like, listen, I'm going to connect with other people during this process, so I'm not understanding why you're acting like I basically sent you into the lion's den not knowing anything. And I completely understand what he's saying. But like I said, in previous seasons, we have all seen where the guys, if they're interested in multiple women, they would say, hey, I'm interested in this person and that person. And we all knew who they were interested in. It wasn't these secret conversations, or if they were a secret conversation, for example, what was that one lady's name? Alexis. Y'all remember Alexis last season? Was that last season? Yeah. Alexis, she was talking to, oh my God, what is that guy's name? The guy who she ended up sending home or whatever, and he was trying to say he was messing around with the girl that KG was dating. I cannot remember that man's name for the life of me. But the whole time on the show, he came out of nowhere and they had this connection on the phone. But once, they made it public that they had a connection, everybody knew that they had a connection. That's what I'm saying about this season. Nobody knows who has a connection. Like, we barely know if some people like each other. But, each season played by its own rules. So I think that from Zadia's perspective, she felt like Dante owed it to her to say, you know what, Zadia? I'm not only focused on you, I'm also focused on Aisha at this time. I'm going to be spending my time between the both of you. I think that is what she was expecting because clearly he knows that she's also interested in Naim. Now, what I feel like another thing that's probably taken her back is because where did Aisha come from? Now, I feel like if it would have been him and Shiloh, she wouldn't have been so surprised because as we recall, Shiloh went and met with the ex-girlfriend. So she knew about Shiloh. Nobody knew about Aisha. So I just feel like the whole situation is a mess on top of the fact that she don't like Aisha. So now in the conversation, we have Dante basically saying that he's not about to play second fiddle for anybody because it looked like she made her choice when she brought up the fact that he planned to, give old girl a massage. He was out here cooking with her. He made sure to do certain activities with Aisha and, left her in the dust. I'm sorry, but I do not like the way he tried to, turn this on her. I know y'all don't like Zadia and all that, but I feel like if you are pursuing two different women, you need to put an effort into both of them. Like, it doesn't make sense that you're going to put all the effort into Aisha and then you're going to get upset with Zadia for entertaining Naim. Well, what is she supposed to do? Wait on you? Like, was she supposed to wait till you're done playing around with Aisha to be like, so is it my turn? Are we going to hang out? Like, what were you expecting her to do? And I also find it funny for him to say, well, I'm not about to play second fiddle when that's basically what she was doing. So it's okay for her to do it, but it's not okay for you to do it. Okay, I see you, Dante. So basically she asked him, like, so what are you saying? Where are you trying to go moving forward? And he's like, all right, well, I'm feeling Aisha. She says, okay. She gets up and she walks off. Baby boy did not go after her. He did not chase after her to see if he could fix the problem. Nothing like that. He orders him some food. He about to have him a good old time. Oh, but baby, Zadia was not done. She had to go ahead and circle back. So Zadia basically felt like she did not get everything off of her chest. So she rolls up on Dante and gets, so close to this man's face. And basically lets him know that, like, while you were over here choosing Aisha, I was going to ride out with you. I was going to choose you. But you basically played me. That's basically what was happening there. She felt some type of way because she did not get chosen. I get it. She was in her feelings, but girl, you did not need to roll up on him like that. You did not have to keep putting your fingers all up in his face. Like, you could have just bowed out gracefully. When you left, when you were sitting on that phone waiting on that elevator, you should have let the elevator come, got in, and left in your vehicle. Go ahead, leave, and let that be that. Because why can't you just go ahead and move forward with Naim? Because Naim has solely focused on you. He did not sit up here trying to date around like a lot of these other guys. Go be with him then. Why are you even worried about Dante? Let it go. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and move on to Walter and Sabrina, because Walter has basically made his decision. He is no longer going to push forward with Mumin after all that stuff that was happening, and all the things that she said when they were at the pool. So now that he's with Sabrina, we learn a little bit more about her and how she even became a stripper. So we learned that, when she was growing up, she had a lot of self-confidence issues. She was bullied. And when she was like 18, 19 years old, that's when she decided to go ahead and get a job at a gentleman's club. And she said that really built her self-confidence. And like I said previously in my other reviews, she had to have been a stripper when she was like hella young for her to have done it for 10 years. So she probably was a stripper between the ages of like 20 and 30. And then she retired. All right, cool. I don't even understand why Walter thought this was some type of red flag for him, considering he definitely has a past. Like, didn't he say he was like a reformed thug? Wasn't this the same guy who, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like the fact that he kept saying that, this is some type of red flag. Like, sir, everybody has a past. Chill out. So now in the confessional, though, you guys, Sabrina says that she feels like he chose her by default because the communication isn't really there with Walter. Now, I find that to be very interesting because the way Mumin was talking last week about how he's not really open with her, I'm like, well, damn, maybe he's not open with anybody. Like, I don't know what's going on with Walter, but I've been saying that this guy has been sketchy from the beginning. But we shall see where this leads for Sabrina and Walter. Alright, so let's jump into Sydney and Phil. They are going on another date. Not at the gym this time, but at a restaurant. And they jump into the conversation trying to figure out what each other sees in the other person that they're dating. So Sydney asks him, like, what's going on with you and Shiloh? And he's like, oh, like, they're basically trying to figure it out. They've hit a few bumps in the road. And I'm like, I would have loved to know what those bumps in the road were, because we have hardly seen you and Shiloh. Hell, we've honestly hardly seen Shiloh, because I promise at the top of this season, all the guys love Shiloh. And then out of nowhere, they all dropped her. So then he, of course, asks her the question, what's going on with her and Frank? And she's like, yeah, she likes Frank or whatever. But, of course, she still has some interest in Phil. So Sydney ends up asking Phil, oh, so what is something that you think that you can work on? And he says being vulnerable. Honestly, you guys, I am so tired of hearing the term vulnerable. From the past, I want to say 3 seasons that we've gone through of Ready to Love, everyone has used that term. On Bachelor, that one season with the black guy, the whole season was about being vulnerable. I'm just like, listen, if you want to tell your personal business, you can or you cannot. But, like, even though Phil is saying this, for example, he's saying that he needs to be more vulnerable and open up, but he's never going to do it, especially not on TV. At least that's what I'm saying from him. Because, again, we know nothing about Phil. Oh, actually, let me go ahead and talk about what he opened up about. So he basically feels like he wasn't able to give his mother grandchildren, and that is something that has really shaped who he is. You guys, I'm sorry, but that is not something that shapes who you are, okay? Not being able to have grandchildren for your mother because she passed away, I'm sorry, I just don't think that is something that shapes who you are. I think someone passing away at a young age, that affects you. I think that, like, if you have a child that passes away or, certain things that have happened, that shapes you. You not being able to have a solid relationship. Hell, you don't even need a solid relationship to have kids. Anybody can have kids. How is that what shaped you, that your mother wasn't able to see your kids? And that's even if you have children. Like, I'm sorry. I'm giving him a side eye. I feel like that was something easy for him to throw out there and say, because he doesn't want people to know much about him. I'm sorry. But, Sydney thinks that this is such a great thing that he's opening up with her to talk about his mom, and she's happy about that. I mean, at least she saw some good in this situation. When it comes to Phil, of course, he's still interested in Shiloh, but he wants to see things through with Sydney. He wants to see where this can go. I'm like, sir, we are so close to the end. I need for you to make a decision already. Alright guys, let's just jump right on over to Deliberations, because there was one thing that happened in Deliberations that really pissed me off, and it wasn't that, they moved around to another location. No, it was the fact that Tommy basically asked the guys what happened between the ladies on the trip that they just went on. And he wanted to hear the guy's perspective as to why the women were getting into it, but he did not want to hear that from the women. And that really does piss me off, because at the end of the day, Tommy, I find it very interesting that you're only listening to the male's perspective and what they have to say instead of going to the horse's mouth, when you could have had a direct conversation with Aisha, with Zadia, with Camille, to know why each one of them said what they said. But no, that's not what you did. You want to hear the guy's perspective, who were just sitting around doing nothing, twiddling their thumbs while the ladies were arguing. Really? That's what we're going to do? We're going to ask them their perspective? Oh, And who's the guy doing all the talking? Big Mouth Frank, when nobody is even asking him to volunteer the information. But let's just jump into what was said. So, I think Naeem, he's the one who mentioned that, there were some people who had some issues with each other. So, Tommy's like, who had issues with each other? And Frank automatically goes to Zadia and Aisha. I'm assuming he went directly to those two because Camille is no longer on the show. But you started in the middle of the situation. He did not start at the beginning, which was when Aisha asked about what, everybody thought about the eliminations. Then the reasons why Camille felt like her and oh boy, they were good to go because they were already coupled off and we're this close to the end of the damn show. But no, he started from Zadia and Aisha going back and forth because Aisha was basically saying that, well, to him, that it doesn't matter who's going to go home, but we all should respect it. Yeah, I don't recall that being the conversation. Y'all, please refresh my memory because I think that she was more so speaking on the fact that everybody had a different journey and it is okay for us to date around, but it's fine that you found your person early in this situation that we're in. Or am I crazy? So then he even mentions how Aisha stormed out. Now, one thing that I will say that I respect Naeem for saying, like, yeah, well, that's because Aisha was naming names. And at that point, she technically was. She was talking about Cornelius and Camille specifically. And then she went on to say, Zadia, you're always jumping in something. And Zadia, you're this, that, another. Like, let's not act like everybody didn't play a part in this. That's one thing that I will respect about Naeem. Naeem is very quiet. He's very aware of things that are going on and he pays attention. So he brings up the fact that, once you start naming names specifically, then of course you're going to have like a target on your back. So that is when Frank decides to be like, well, they are the Brown Girl Squad. I wonder where he heard that from. I can bet y'all for sure he heard that from Sydney because I definitely think that Sydney and Frank pillow talk for sure because Frank has said certain things throughout Deliberations as well as in his confessional that I'm like he could have only heard that from Sydney. There's no other way that he would be able to repeat things the way that he has. I mean, think about it. How was it that Sydney was the only girl who knew that she was going to meet up with the ex to have a Rolodex of questions? I mean, her questions were good. That was on her list. But what I'm saying is, I definitely think that he kept giving her heads up or they would have conversations where he's telling her things and she's telling him things. But let's go ahead and move on. Like, again, I respect Naeem for saying, no, the reason why they were calling themselves the Brown Girls Club or Brown Girls Squad, whatever, is because they vibe together. They thought they had good personalities together. And that's just what they called each other. Like, I did like the fact that he kind of like tried to bring that energy down because you could already see that Tommy was trying to make it a thing of, well, what about the light-skinned people? And what about all right, bring it on down. We don't need to have that energy here. Especially if you're not going to address it with the women that you could have addressed it with last week, Tommy. So let's go ahead and move on from that. But let me tell you another part that pissed me off on this deliberation. So Tommy asks the guys, basically choose who y'all really trying to, move forward with. We get to Walter. He says Sabrina. However, she did let me know that she was a stripper. Excuse me? Sir, why did you bring that information to this group of men? You had no reason to bring this to the group of men because it has no factor in who she is right now in this moment. If she was previously a freaking stripper and that was 20 years ago, why are you bringing this up to this group of men right now? It makes no sense. Walter, you're so messed up for that. But let's go ahead and move on because Dante, he basically says that, at one point it was Zadia, but he definitely made the space for him and Aisha to spend a lot of time together because basically they weren't able to go on any dates anytime previously. And I'm like, well, whose fault is that? Because if y'all had time for all these hour, 2 hour long phone conversations. Why couldn't y'all meet up? But you know what? Whatever. So the next person to talk was Naim, and he talks about how he's riding for Zadia. You know, she's been genuine this whole time. She's family oriented. He just listed all these things that he actually likes about Zadia. And then we get to Frank. So Frank says Mumin and Sydney. Phil made a little face when he said Sydney's name as if he didn't know that Frank was going to say that. So then we get to Phil, and of course he says Shiloh and Sydney, but according to him, you know, Shiloh has always been there, and, you know, she's always been vulnerable with him. However, when it comes to Sydney, none of their conversations are surface level. Y'all, what did we watch when we saw them at that workout date? And what did we watch on this little date that they had today? When they were just, you know, were they eating somewhere? Seemed a bit surface to me, but I guess because you couldn't give your mother grandchildren, that's what made it deep. Okay, Phil. So let's finally get to who the guys aren't feeling. So of course, Dante is going to bring up the fact that him and Zadia went on that terrible date, and how she put her hands on his face, how she literally like poked her freaking fingers on his nose after he said that he was choosing Aisha. And then Tommy asks Naim, like, so how do you feel about that? And he's like, I don't feel no kind of way, because that's not the interactions that he's had with Zadia. Like, to be honest with you, Naim and Zadia don't even have that type of energy when they're together versus what she had with Dante. Hell, I honestly don't even recall where Zadia and Dante even came from, but whatever. Because I used to think he was into Shiloh. But now here goes Frank chiming in again against Zadia. And y'all know why he don't like Zadia, right? Y'all know that Frank don't like Zadia because remember that time she laughed at Sydney when Sydney was like, the guys are just now getting to know me, and then Sydney kind of got into it. That is why Frank don't like Zadia. That's definitely why I think that's happening here, even though I feel like Sydney's energy that time should not have been towards Zadia. It should have been the fact that what's her name, Sabrina, dismissed her and was like, okay girl, but that's neither here nor there. So Frank is basically like, well, this is basically who she is, and it's just a matter of time before she becomes aggressive with you. And again, Naim is like playing it cool. He is not about to disrespect Zadia at all. He's not about to try to play her out. He's just saying, you know what, that is not the energy that I give to her, and that is not the energy that I receive. Now, one thing that I will say is that different people bring out different energies in other people. Because think about it, there have been plenty of times where someone has been a total mess in a relationship with you, and in their next relationship, they be a total different person. Different energies do not match. So I'm just going to leave that where it's at. So when they asked him, though, who he's not feeling, he said Sydney. Now, this makes me circle back to last week, because Sydney was like, Naim should go home because he never put in any effort to her. You know, he wasn't interested, basically. He didn't want to put in any effort to see where things could go. And I said on my last review, you guys, I said, I don't think that you're his type. Naim is not interested in a woman like Sydney. He's not interested in the party girl. I literally said this, that there's no way that I can see Naim at this point in the process to be trying to get to know Sydney. And look, here we go right here. He says Sydney. And he said, first of all, her voice is annoying. I said, oh, that is kind of true. Because she has that Portia Williams effect where they have this, oh my God, I'm so sweet, I'm so bubbly, oh my God. One of those little baby voices. And all men do not find that attractive. So we get to Frank. He says that his least two are Zadia as well as, who did he say? Shiloh. And then we see Walter. He says Mumin. I say, yes, Walter, you are doing what this process is supposed to be. You go ahead and you name Mumin because you have dated her and you have realized that this is not where you want to be. So, I think Phil, he also said that Mumin, he wasn't feeling her. She cool as a friend, but that is not who he wants to be with. I said, okay, cool. Now, according to this, I think the ladies that should be in the bottom are Zadia and Mumin. Now, if it were up to me, I definitely think that technically Mumin should probably go home because Frank has two options. Like, Frank, why are we allowing you to have two options? Either this is the point where you go ahead and you choose Mumin and you drop Sydney, so that way I guess Phil can choose Sydney or whatever. But if we say Mumin, then that should be your option. That should be your girl. That's who you want to rock out with. And then we also have Zadia, who is Naeem's only option. So therefore, if Zadia goes, we already know that Naeem is going to go. So, of course, they have to meet up. We see Walter, he's meeting up with Mumin. But I'm trying to figure out, why is Phil meeting up with Zadia? If anything, it should have been Naeem. But whatever. Alright, so let's just jump into who is staying, who is going. We already know that Zadia is going to go home. Basically, Phil wanted to hear her side of the story, and she tells him what happened. She knows that she went too far, putting her hands on his nose. Like, she knows that she definitely went too far in that aspect. And he was like, I can't co-sign that. She's like, I'm not asking you to. I will say that what I've noticed about Zadia is that she's very assertive and she is very aware of her actions, more than I thought she was before after having this conversation with Phil. But like I said, she went home. She already knew she was going home when she was meeting up with Phil, because why would Zadia be meeting up with Phil? That's neither here nor there. Honestly, I want to get to this whole Mumin and Walter situation, because I think that if Walter had the ability to send her home, he would have, but he knows that he has to do right by the group decision to keep her, because Mumin was definitely on one. She literally thought, I guess, that this was her chance to go off on Walter about all the things that he did wrong because he wasn't open to being with her and around her, and how closed off he was and all these things. It's just like, girl, let it go. If you're going to move forward with Frank, don't even worry about what's going on with Walter at this point. Because like Walter said, you decided to get up and walk away. Like, when I was trying to work it out with you, you got up. So what am I supposed to do with that? Like, honestly, it was great that they had this conversation, I guess, but I don't feel like there was no clarity that was made, because at the end of the day, Walter felt how he felt, Mumin still feels how she feels, and at the end of the day, they need to move forward with other people. So we actually see Naeem. He is going to meet up with Tommy because he needs to figure out what he's going to do, because Zadia is gone and that was his only connection. So within this conversation, Tommy is basically like, well, clearly Dante must have been her number one choice because of the reaction that she gave. Even though she said that Dante may have been her number one choice, I personally don't believe that, because when have we actually seen her and Dante? I feel like every time I've seen Zadia on a date, it has been with Naeem. But whatever. So basically, Tommy just wants Naeem to be mindful of the type of person that Zadia is and how she can be a hothead. Now, Naeem brings up the fact that, he used to be that type of person. He used to be very reactive, but now he's not that person anymore. He does end up deciding that he's going to self-eliminate because his person isn't there anymore. And that was pretty much the episode. You guys, let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. One thing that I find to be interesting, though, is I can't wait till the reunion, because wouldn't it be interesting if the last three couples, they didn't make it, but Zadia and Naeem made it, or if Cornelius and Camille were still together? That would be hella interesting. But anyways, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.